are you? The governor's ending up his stuff, so we may go or we can.
So I'm going to stay out.
Okay.
Okay. Best of luck. Don't touch your face.
Exactly. Can't lose your sense of humor even in a crisis. Yeah. All right. Do they want to wait for a couple? Yeah, no, it's that one. If they want to wait for a couple minutes because of the governor, that we can wait, or we can go, whatever they want. Okay, take your time. No worries. Council's meeting. We got this. We got plenty of stuff. Plenty of content right now.
How long? I can't hear. Can you tell me how long I can tell? We'll take you live in just a second.
Okay.
About a minute.
Okay. No problem.
Camera on the right. Sir?
I'm sorry?
Is it the camera on the right?
Yeah, it's gonna be the camera. Right? I think right now. Actually. Good evening, Los Angeles, and thank you again for joining us. And let me start by thanking our governor. I know who many of you who are watching, who today with the legislature have taken historic steps to continue to assist all the cities in California and all the people of California during this crisis. We appreciate your leadership greatly. I also want to thank the people of Los Angeles. As a reminder, this is a daily ongoing briefing. It allows me to talk to the residents of the city of Los Angeles, but also update residents in the county here in close coordination with mayors in other cities and our extraordinary leaders at the Board of Supervisors who are helping us steer through this. To slow the spread of novel coronavirus, all of us have played a tremendous role in the last few days, and I want to start with my thanks. It's been under 2 days since I announced our order to prevent people from gathering in close proximity at restaurants, bars, gymnasiums, movie theaters, and more. And the good news is it's working. What you're doing matters. And I know that it has been immensely difficult, first and foremost for those businesses and the workers at those businesses, but this is saving lives, and it's transforming our city. Angelinos have truly stepped up to the plate, and we appreciate you. We're seeing it, we feel it, and every day we know that social distancing saves lives. So thank you all for being lifesavers. As we keep using these best practices, we remain focused, though, too, on those workers and working families who are right on the edge. And I know how stressful it has been for so many Los Angeles families who suddenly have hours cut, some who have been laid off, and those who are experiencing the front line of the economic impact of this crisis firsthand. We are working for all of you and for all Angelinos. So I want to begin tonight by thanking those people who are on the front lines, those health professionals, those government workers, our grocery clerks and truck drivers, warehouse and restaurant employees, our first responders, and everybody who is out there ensuring that Los Angeles continues marching forward. And I'm very thankful for the political partnership, historic, where it seems like walls that sometimes separate us between cities or between city and county have completely broken down so that we act together in the interests of everybody as one family. To my fellow Angelinos who have taken this threat seriously and who have adopted social distancing practices, thank you for your sacrifices. I know that they are heartbreaking, that sometimes we feel more isolated, that we miss each other, but pick up that phone and call somebody who you know is alone. Check in with your parents and grandparents. Be generous with your neighbors and look out for one another. I'm hearing thousands upon thousands of those stories of everyday acts of kindness that are helping Angelinos get through this difficult time. And to the few Angelinos who are still out there, who might think this doesn't apply to you, who might think that you can get through this unharmed, you still can harm yourself and your loved ones. So take this seriously. You need to follow the rules, the restrictions, and the guidelines that we have put forward. Public health experts are guiding this advice. These are not political decisions. These are decisions in the interests of your well-being. Everything we do now, every action we take in these critical weeks will determine, again, the depth of this crisis and the length of our suffering. So tonight, I want to update you on the new information since we spoke last. As I speak, our City Council has been meeting the entire day, and I want to thank the LA City Council for their leadership as well. But we all know that small businesses are the backbone of the Los Angeles economy. We are the entrepreneurial capital of America. Mom and pop stores and restaurants, our main streets, are what make this city so amazing. And we're seeing so many establishments like restaurants and others that are seeing significant impacts since this outbreak. So with City Council partnership, we are working on a new program to directly assist our small businesses here in Los Angeles. We're looking to provide $11 million that will be no-fee microloans to help a wide range of small businesses with their bills, to pay payroll, to pay their rent, to ensure that they can retain their employees and that they can weather this storm so that they can come back even stronger than before. Altogether, this initiative could benefit more than 2,000 businesses in our city right away. Because we understand that now more than ever, we have to work to support and strengthen the men and women, the business owners who are vital to LA and Los Angeles' long-term economic security. We will roll this out quickly. And on top of that, my office has developed a small business resilience toolkit that offers information for your business in one place about federal, state, county, and city emergency policies that are in place to give companies ways to address their immediate needs, keep their people safe, maintain operations, and prepare for the future in the face of the current challenge. For more information about the microloan program and this resilience toolkit, please visit lamayor.org/loan. We also have some good news for local businesses. And I'm taking a step that builds on what we did for our residents when we had a residential moratorium on evictions. And I'm proud to say that we are ordering a moratorium on evictions for commercial tenants as well, so that small businesses who have had to make major changes in recent days and are making difficult decisions right now about operations and employees also have a measure of relief from this crisis. And we have remained in constant communication with our partners in the private sector who are stepping up to the plate in real and tangible ways. And thank you to our business leaders who are being part of that solution right now. One way that we've seen that happen is with our delivery platforms, like DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and Postmates. They're waiving sign-up fees for restaurants joining their platforms so that those restaurants can stay open. Those who haven't joined the delivery revolution right now should. They'll make it easier for local establishments to keep serving their customers as they move to all delivery and takeout service for the time being. And on this point, I want to reiterate, you can do something. I know I ordered from one of my favorite restaurants for lunch. I'm going to do the same thing for dinner. Do your part, if you can, to make sure these businesses stay alive and that their employees stay employed. Building on our work with grocers, speaking of food, I want to thank everybody who stepped up and starting to take the advice of not having the panic buying and not hoarding. While we're not out of the woods yet, things are getting better on our shelves, in our parking lots, and at our stores. And I was particularly touched that a number of stores have dedicated specific time to help our most vulnerable population, folks over 60, to ensure that they can get their groceries. I would like to urge all supermarkets to do the same thing in our city, to take similar steps to accommodate seniors who are at the highest risk of not only contracting this virus, but if they contract it, of being able to potentially be killed by it. To consider expanding door delivery services, curbside drop-off options so we can practice the smart social distancing guidance for this vulnerable population. Remember, this is a time for prevention and for preparation, not a time for panic. There's no shortage of food supply, as you saw yesterday. The supply chains remain uninterrupted. We'll give you the updates whenever we hear them about hand sanitizer, and we're assured that the toilet paper and paper towels are just days away. But all those food staples you depend on will continue to be replenished every single day. So buy what you need for the week, not for the month or for months ahead. And when you do shop, always be responsible. I'm also pleased that those grocery clerks who are the heroes of this crisis, making sure as they go to work and put themselves at risk to make sure we have food, that we have been able to obtain protective masks for our grocery workers. Working together with all of our main grocery chains, this was something that they asked, and we've been able to secure a shipment of masks that will go out to those grocery workers in the next day or two. 5,000 masks for grocery store workers, and in addition to that, 10,000 masks that we have for our first responders who are on the line. We've had to change some of the ways we do things and adopt safe practices. For instance, we have right now in our fire department, instead of sending 4 or 5 people in on a medical call, we're having one person with the full protective gear to ensure we can preserve our protective gear and that we don't expose additional personnel potentially to coronavirus. Back to food, though, I want to say while our schools are closed, tomorrow parents will begin to be able to pick up food for their children. There are 60 grab-and-go centers that LAUSD has opened across Los Angeles, and from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday, students can pick up 2 nutritious meals to get them through the day, with the help and the assistance of our LAPD officers, who've also been at our grocery stores and other places to ensure everything is safe. And while you're there, as I mentioned yesterday, we've relaxed parking restrictions so that you can get that food without worrying that you're going to get a ticket from the city, and the same thing with street sweeping. We appreciate all your patience and anything we can do to reduce the stress that you face right now. Do move the cars if you can. We need for public health to sweep streets, but if you can't because too many people are home, we understand, and you won't get a ticket. Families need to be focused right now on their health and safety. And I want to bring up something else that has caused some families in Los Angeles a lot of stress, as we see an uptick of ICE operations that create unnecessary fear and panic in those very same families we are trying to protect. We are, as always, going to stand with our immigrants. Los Angeles is a city of immigrants. 63% of us are either immigrants or the children of immigrants. Many live in blended families, and additional fear at a moment of extreme stress is the last thing families need to face. But I want to emphasize that as we meet our challenges, governments are coming together. And I want to address something because I try to use these addresses to give you practical information each day. Address something that's not under the city's exact jurisdiction, but I know of concern to all of us, and that's testing for coronavirus and COVID-19. We're working very closely to coordinate with the county to secure as many testing kits as we can with assistance from the state and now, finally, from the federal government. But while we wait for those swabs and those testing kits, work with laboratories to increase their capacity and make sure that we have orders coming in, I've asked Dr. Mark Eckstein, who's the medical director and commander of the EMS Bureau of the Los Angeles Fire Department and an expert in clinical emergency medicine at the USC Keck School of Medicine, to lead the coordination of our testing efforts. We're working very closely with the County of Public Health, which has done such a heroic job, and I know is stretched thin. So we're going to work with them and our hospital association, who I want to thank, bringing together all these different places where tests can occur, as we get more of them, how we can set up the logistics for those, and add a little bit more security in the coming days and weeks to making sure that those people who need tests can get them. Most patients in LA who come down with COVID-19 symptoms will self-treat at home. One estimate from a doctor today who was here said that probably 90% of people who have symptoms that are COVID-19-like don't have COVID-19. That said, tests are being prioritized right now for those in 3 categories: those who have severe symptoms, those healthcare workers and first responders who we need to keep on the job to win the fight against this crisis, and for anyone who's been exposed to a confirmed case of the virus. A 4th category can also be a priority for those who are over 65 or who have already compromised immune systems who are showing somewhat severe symptoms as well. Our federal and state leaders are finalizing interventions that will support businesses and individuals that are impacted by this crisis. And I want to again urge Washington to move as quickly as possible and thank the governor for the historic dollars that he has put forward in the $1 billion fund that he is talking about to help us with everything from our fight to help our unhoused Angelenos address this crisis, to the medical equipment that we need for our first responders. But for workers who face unemployment, we need action now. And today, members of the California State Legislature joined together across party lines to unanimously pass this emergency legislation authorizing this $1 billion to fight COVID-19. Just signed into law by the governor, this will provide more beds and medical equipment to help our hospitals treat more patients and protect those who are most at risk. But your city government is here for you too. As a reminder, as I said yesterday, those governments that are cities not of the city of Los Angeles and LA County, please check with your mayor, with your council member, and check in with them, because many of the things we're doing in coordination. And I've been in constant communication with the 87 other mayors of LA County. Continuing vital city services will never stop. This city government will never close. And that means a large team of employees is still coming to work and doing their job. But social distancing is everything in this fight. If you haven't heard it loud and clear from our public health director, and I just got off the phone with her from LA County, Dr. Ferrer, she is saying anybody who can work at home should work at home, unless you're critical to the operations of this city. It's critically important that we do the same thing in our city family. So we're soon going to reassign some of our city employees to serve outside their departments, where they can add capacity for our response. And we're finalizing plans for our city employees to telecommute. Rest assured, no matter what action we take, critical sanitation and public safety and public health services will continue no matter what. You will always have police, you always have firefighters who respond to that 911 call, you will always have your trash picked up, and as always, you can call in the City of Los Angeles 311 to ask for any questions about city services. Our seniors are getting frozen and packaged meals at their normal sites. We're increasing our food delivery. And of course, our city actions for relief and assistance are ongoing. As we said, all bars, entertainment venues, public spaces are closed. Restaurants are only available for takeout and delivery. And as I mentioned, our residential street parking is relaxed, but it's important to remember that doesn't mean we're giving no tickets. So those, for instance, in front of restaurants, so we can get cars in and out, we want to have that regular turnover in commercial spaces, but our residential street sweeping spaces will not get tickets. Finally, being at home doesn't mean that you're unable to help. The most important thing that you can do is continue practicing social distancing. And I know you've been hearing a ton about this. In fact, you have been the strike force ensuring that it happens with your friends, your family, your place of work. And I want to make clear just how critical this is. COVID-19 is far more contagious than the flu or other infections we're used to seeing. Its incubation period and the infectiousness period is longer. And infectiousness starts before we show symptoms. That's why it is so critical for us to make sure that we practice social distancing, making sure we don't have COVID-19 even before we have symptoms. At this point, some estimates tell us that each person who comes down with novel coronavirus can affect an average of more than 3 other people, according to research that was published in the Journal of Travel Medicine. That's how this virus was able to spread so quickly. And that's why we need you, if you can, to stay home, and why we need social distancing. A lot of folks have asked about Northern California. We may have questions on that today. And I wanted to say a couple things on that too, because a lot of people have said now, hey, we were doing things before anybody else. Do we need to do what they're doing up there? This is not a new room that we'd step into. Or to use a football metaphor, they might be on the 20-yard line and we might be on the 30. The terms that are being used, I hope we can report on differently and talk about differently. Sheltering in place is something that we use when there's a school shooting. It means stay where you are, not be at home. When people talk about a complete lockdown, you look even in the Northern California counties, some of which have an infection rate as much as 10 times ours right now. Those are places where there's not a complete lockdown. There's more than a dozen exceptions of critical workers. And those critical workers are defined as accountants needing to do tax preparation work, infrastructure folks who are doing construction, many different areas, and nobody's locked down. In fact, public health professionals are, for your psychological help, encouraging people to go outside, walk your dog, take a hike as long as you maintain that 6 feet between people. And life will go on. Here, there's not a lot of air between us, but I hope people have heard loud and clear what our county health department has told us, which is right now, if you can work at home, do work at home. And we will continue to transparently tell you the steps that we are taking. There is no plan to lock down this city. That is not imminent, but we ask you all to lock down as much of your life as you can. And make sure that you get out there to get your basic necessities. If you can work from home, to do it. Keep everybody you know safe. If you're seniors, to limit that even more. And of course, those with pre-existing conditions. And practice good hygiene. Continue washing those hands. Continue sanitizing those surfaces. And make sure that you monitor your health and seek help if you need it. There is still plenty of important connecting to be done from home. Check in with your friends and your loved ones. Buy local. Help your neighbors. Even fill out your census form, which I know came in the mail, and I and my family filled out just a couple days ago. And if you have a few dollars to spare, and I say if because I know a lot of people have been hit by this, and that's exactly who we want to help with this fund, continue to donate to our COVID-19 crisis fund at mayorsfundla.org. That's mayorsfundla.org to help support our critical efforts in Los Angeles. You can also contribute to the California Community Foundation, United Way, or just to those local organizations who you know are feeding our vulnerable, checking on our seniors, helping people with disabilities, and others who are affected by this social isolation. We are all first responders, and you're doing a marvelous job. Keep up the good work. I'm so proud to be your mayor. I'm so proud to be an Angelino. And I'm so proud that people are answering the call. And know that we're barely getting any sleep, trying to fill in the gaps where we haven't had leadership in other places, while we're waiting for more tests to come here, helping our hospital personnel to be healthy and feel good, encouraging our first responders and those who are out there getting us through this all. But ask yourselves, are you making all the right decisions? Did you keep going out in groups? Did you ignore calls for social distancing? Did you put other people at risk? None of us want to look back and say we did the wrong thing. So help be a part of this army to win this war. We're doing the right things, Los Angeles, and I know we will continue to. And each day I will update you on the progress that we are making. One last note, too, as you hear the numbers out there, I want to echo what Dr. Ferrer said. While there was 50 new cases in the county, much of that is because finally tests are coming online. Not necessarily because of a rapid acceleration, but a more honest number of where we are. And we look forward to sharing that data. We're working with the county and hospitals and others to see if the city of LA can help in this region to let people know exactly what is the level of infection, what is the level of symptoms, how many people that are exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19 don't actually have it. And I shared with you earlier, 96% of the private tests are coming back negative and just 4% positive. Those are hopeful signs, but that doesn't mean to let up for 1 second. Don't be the person who gets a family member sick. Don't be the person who infects the neighborhood. Do everything that you can to make sure that you are safe and everything that you love in LA is safe too. We will overcome this. We will write a new chapter in our city and our nation's history. And I love all of you for everything that you are doing. Stay strong, Los Angeles. I'm going to answer some questions in English now, and then I'll do some Spanish and answer some Spanish questions as well. So why don't we go ahead and take questions from our speakerphone, because we're exhibiting best practices here. Thank you to the members of the press. We'll take the first question.
Thank you, sir. To ask a question, please press *1. And first we have Elix Michelson with Fox 11 News, Los Angeles.
Hi, Alex.
Los Angeles.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Mayor Garcetti. I'm also joined by my colleague Christine Devine live on Fox 11 right now.
Hi,
So
Christine.
my question for you, Mayor, is you talk about the grocery stores and saying that things are getting better. I've had people message me today and say, wait, I went to the store and there wasn't meat. There weren't eggs. There weren't medicines.
Sure.
What do you say to calm the fears of those people?
And one other thing, Mayor, we just heard from the governor suggesting that the most likely outcome is we are not going to have schools in session in California until at least the summer. What's your message to all the kids out there, all the parents that are angry, confused right now, and is that the way that you see the scenario?
So let me start with the grocery stores. As I was careful to say, it's getting better. Sorry, we have a little bit of an echo. If we can mute the phone. All right, there we go. I'll start that again. Thanks so much. So first of all, I said I was very careful. It's getting better, but we need people to continue acting at our grocery stores with discretion, not panic buying and not hoarding. But there is enough food for people to eat. And those things that are having runs on them, for instance, bottled water, which I've told people we have plenty of water out of your tap, don't worry. And there are shortages of certain things for that day, but there are not shortages in Los Angeles. There are only shortages because people are buying for months at a time. whether it's meat or bread or other things that will go bad, the advice of all the grocers, and we saw it manifest yesterday at that warehouse, there's plenty of food, not just for days and weeks, but for months and the rest of this year. If people buy too much, though, that takes away from others. So I appreciate you pointing that out, and that's why I said that message. It's getting better. Thank you to those who are now buying responsibly. Toilet paper, for instance, the head of Georgia Pacific, the CEO today, I won't say the exact words he said. He said, we are making more toilet paper. We're going to be fine, but we don't need more supply because, I'll paraphrase here, he said, people aren't going to the bathroom more often. Get back to the regular pace of life, of eating, of what you do in terms of needing your toilet paper, of the water that you can get out of the tap, et cetera. Second, to your question, Alex, about the schools, that is what we're seeing and hearing from many public health professionals, that this won't just be a 2-week or 3-week thing. Those decisions haven't been made here by LAUSD yet. We do see some institutions like UCLA has canceled classes until the summer at the earliest. And so I understand that. I'm a parent. I can understand how frustrating and angry that makes people. I'm enjoying the quality time with my daughter and helping to be her social science and science teacher. But I know how tough that is for families who have to work, who don't have a caretaker. And I hope that we can all come together in these next days as we get our arms around what the impact of this is going to be, to find ways that we can care for our children. In particular, for those children who are the children of our first responders and our healthcare workers who we need to show up to work. That is critical for our city's operations. And so we're looking at best practices around the country, up and down the state, to see what can we do to provide childcare, and we're working with our hospital association there too. But our hearts go out to everybody. For those folks who have kids, know that PBS has a historic partnership, and on the television as well as online, and some people can't get online, though you can, everybody can through a phone, they will have just on television instruction to standards where kids can learn. We know this will be a tough period, but we know the most loving thing you can do for your child is to make sure that they don't get hit with COVID-19, that they don't spread it to your loved ones, and I would think that is the best love you can show your kids. Next question.
Thank you. Next, we have Laura Nelson with the Los Angeles Times.
Hi, Laura.
Hi there. I have 2 quick questions. First of all, I wanted to clarify what you said earlier, that telecommuting plans for city employees are being finalized. When will those plans be done, and when will city employees be allowed to start working remotely? And secondly, is the city considering using any type of publicly owned vacant housing or other properties to help out people who are homeless during the crisis?
Let me start backwards. We don't have a ton of supply of vacant housing, though we are primarily right now focused on hotels, motels, and drawing up a plan I hope we can talk a little bit about more tomorrow for bringing folks indoors through our rec centers and our city properties. To get to the numbers that I think we need to get to, we would never get there just with vacant houses, for instance. I have asked, I know there's a family that has occupied a home that is where the 710 freeway was supposed to be expanded, and we've asked Caltrans to see whether or not our housing authority might be able to get that house and many other houses and make that affordable housing for folks that today need that and or who are homeless, but that will require state action. But we are focused on our motels and hotels, on our shelters that exist, and standing up more shelters, as well as isolation units for anybody who is unhoused to be able to self-quarantine. Obviously, anybody who has such severe symptoms that they need hospitalization, we do not discriminate in our hospitals based on whether you are homeless or not. So, of course, those beds will be available to folks. And we are working tirelessly. I think last time it was 250. We have 310 hand sanitizing stations and encampments. We have our outreach workers working in them, and we're going to be very aggressive in everything we can do to help those neighbors that are unhoused. In terms of city employees, we'll have the direction, I think, tomorrow. And I want to be clear, it's not that everybody can telecommute, because we have critical city workers, as I mentioned, who keep the power on, who pick up the trash, who make sure that the economy keeps going, and who, of course, are first responders to this crisis. But short of those folks and mobilizing our city employees, which is a power I have in my emergency powers, to go from one department and work elsewhere where we're going to need to staff up, whether it's our response on homelessness or whether it's to help our hospitals. We will designate who those people are. Of course, those who are at greatest risk with pre-existing health conditions, seniors, we've already asked them to look at that and to go home and telecommute if you can. And so we've drawn up those lists. It's very complicated with 40,000 people, but we think that will roll out sometime tomorrow. Next question.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Beverly White with NBC Channel 4, Los Angeles.
Hi, Beverly.
Hello, Mayor. I'd like to ask you to elaborate on the school question. What level of communication are you having right now with the area school districts, specifically LA Unified? In other words, do you know what it will look like on the ground if schools do not reopen before the summer break?
No, I think we're right now trying to get through these few weeks and luckily have some time to figure that out. The school district had initially looked at opening up family resource centers, made the decision yesterday not to have places where children could congregate because of their interpretation of the county public health directives. But we know that we're going to have to set up places for some children to be, not just those children of the frontline workers that I mentioned, but you've also got families, or children, who don't have families, who are foster youth, those who may be homeless. So I want to work very closely with the school district to solve those problems together. During the strike, we were able to use Rec and Parks facilities with proper social distancing in this crisis. That may be part of the solution, but we've got great facilities in the school district. We should figure out a way that we might be able to utilize those. But in terms of what it's going to look like moving forward, how education is going to happen and when those schools will open, those things have to be driven by the public health recommendations. And right now, while children aren't as badly affected by COVID-19, the data is not clear whether they are the ones who can spread. And so the last thing we want to do is have kids congregating, bring that sickness home that could have a grandparent be badly hurt, even killed by that, family members who are dealing with pre-existing health conditions. So I do support the school district's decision to close those schools, the universities to do the same. Research from around the world shows that, as well as shutting down the venues that I did that are public venues, are the two most important things we can do in a crisis like this. But our communication has been good. We look forward to strengthening that and doing whatever we can to help our parents and the school district as well. Thanks, Beverly.
Thank you. Our next question is Steve Gregory with KFI Radio.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my question. Hey, you mentioned earlier about issuing masks to grocery store workers and the issue about masks. That's another confusing thing I think people are wondering about. The county is telling us that they don't want people using masks if they're non-medical personnel. And then you talked about grocery store workers and others using masks. Do you think that's kind of a confusing message?
I'm not familiar with that county guidance because these masks we obtained working with the county, and they were the ones who helped us get them. So we're on the same page with that. That's new information that I hadn't heard about. But we see those as frontline workers in the same way. Critical things are to eat and our health care. And so we're looking at those, especially when we saw the crowds that are still there in too many grocery stores, but lessening. And certainly what we saw in the past few days, that puts those clerks at high risk, and we want to make sure they can show up and make sure we can get our food. But we can circle back if there's anything specific that was said by somebody else in the county, but those masks came from our work with the county.
Thank you, sir. And this concludes our questions. And now it's time for the Spanish remark.
Okay. Thank you again to everybody who's tuned in. I'm going to say a few things in Spanish as well. Gracias y buenas noches a Los Ángeles. A todos los residentes, gracias por su trabajo increíble en estos días. Esta crisis es una crisis. En la solución de esta crisis está en nuestras manos. Y sé que están nerviosos sobre lo que sucederá aquí en Los Ángeles. En esta noche quiero asegurarles, las cosas estarán bien, pero todo lo que hacemos ahora salvará vidas. Vidas de su familia, vidas de sus vecinos, vidas en Los Ángeles. Esta noche tengo algunas noticias para compartir sobre la situación. Primero, tenemos recursos para ofrecer alivio para nuestras pequeñas empresas. Nuestra ciudad proporcionará $11 millones nuevos en microcréditos sin cargo para ayudar a pequeñas empresas a cubrir sus facturas. Mi oficina tiene una herramienta de resiliencia para pequeñas empresarias para darles formas de abordar sus necesidades inmediatas. Y además estamos anunciando un moratorio en desalojos en espacios comerciales. Tenemos este moratorio en espacios residenciales, ahora también en estos espacios comerciales. También ordenamos una suspensión sobre desalojos para inquilinos comerciales para que las pequeñas empresas que han tenido que hacer muchos cambios en los últimos días y han tomado decisiones difíciles sobre las operaciones y sus empleados, tengan una medida de alivio durante esta crisis. Todas las plataformas a domicilio como DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats y Postmates están ofreciendo registro gratuito a unirse a sus plataformas. Utilice estas plataformas si tú eres el dueño de un restaurante específicamente. Segundo, hemos escuchado informes de redadas de ICE en el sur de California. Las familias de Los Ángeles necesitan enfocarse en su salud y seguridad. Merecen un pie de paz ahora. Siempre vamos a apoyar a nuestra comunidad inmigrante. Tercero, hemos trabajado con el condado para asegurar kits de pruebas para Los Ángeles. Y se priorizan las pruebas para los que tienen síntomas severos, los primeros intervinientes que tienen síntomas y personas quienes han sido expuestos a un caso confirmado del virus. Además, miles de mascarillas han llegado a Los Ángeles. Priorizamos estas mascarillas para los primeros intervinientes y los trabajadores en supermercados. También estamos finalizando planes para los empleos de la ciudad a teletrabajar. No importa que los servicios críticos continuarán. Y finalmente, quiero recordarles que lo más importante que puedan hacer es practicar el distanciamiento social. COVID-19 es más contagioso que la gripe y nuestro futuro está en sus manos, con sus acciones a salvar estas vidas. Estamos en esto juntos y juntos superaremos este momento. Muchísimas gracias a los residentes, gracias a los trabajadores, especialmente en gobierno, en los hospitales, en nuestros supermercados, por su dedicación a nuestra ciudad de Los Ángeles. Y con esto, preguntas.
Right, thank you. First, we have Abel Alamilo with Telemundo 52.
Hola.
Mayor, thank you so much for taking my question here.
Sí.
What would be your message to those businesses and business owners that might still be allowing customers to dine in at their restaurants and bars? And what consequences, if any, might they face if they don't comply with the new restrictions?
Sí. Por los dueños de restaurantes que están teniendo personas en su restaurante para comer, este es ilegal. Solo tuvimos 1 o 2 casos en la ciudad este día y la policía vino a estas empresas para recordarles que es importante que todos nosotros actúen en conjunción con la ley. La ley no es para ciertas personas, pero todas las empresas. Y tu empresa tiene una amenaza. Si tú continúas a tener personas en su espacio, sus empleos, la gente que son los residentes de su vecindario, tienen mucho peligro también. Por favor, continúa a resolver estas cosas. Tenemos programas a asistirte, pero es ilegal a tener estas personas en su restaurante. Any other questions?
All right, thank you. That concludes our questions. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you again, Los Angeles. We'll be back tomorrow. Know that we continue to each be those first responders. And like I said, it's a great moment to write down some of the people that you need to check in with. Make sure that they're okay. As always, go to official information sites. Don't believe the rumors. And continue to do your part. We can turn the corner on this. These 2 weeks will seem long, but looking back, they will be some of the bravest days that we got through. I believe in you. I believe in this city. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.